Hollow Knight. What can be said that hasn't been said already? It's a masterpiece that managed to take the world by storm, and now people won't stop talking about it 7 years later. Fortunately, I'm one of those glazers, and now that I absolutely adore this game, I decided to awaken my third eye and all my chakra points. Really gonna put my brain into maximum overdrive mode to articulate why this game goes so hard. Let's talk about the exploration. It's a 2D Metroidvania that's made to entice you to explore the whole map, and boy oh boy does this game have a girthy map. Sometimes you run into NPCs like Cornifer, everyone's favorite cartographer, whose humming will be permanently ingrained in your DNA. Every time you reach a new area, your first instinct is to look for him. But this game also loves to show you collectibles, items, and interactables in your peripheral vision that you can't get to. Like how one of the areas to get to Crystal Peak is blocked by a breakable floor that you obviously aren't good enough for. It's practically mocking you, saying that you're some low level scrubbing to get good. Anywho, you've got shit to find like max shards for more health, vessel fragments for more soul juice, and pale ore for more nail damage. There's also movement upgrades like the classic double jump, climbing walls, a dash with iframes, swimming in literal acid, and a lamp so you don't piss your pants in the dark. But once you get that item, something happens in your brain. A rush of dopamine so great that you want more and more and more. You'll be looking for every breakable wall, every nook and cranny, and every ass crack to sniff on the off chance that there's something there. Congratulations, Hollow Knight, you've become my dealer, and I your faithful crackhead. And I can assure you I'm not addicted to this game, you are addicted to it. The combat, on the other hand, is simple but so effective. You have a basic slash attack in every direction, and for some reason, the knight can pogo bounce on enemies and spikes. You also took a page out of the fucking Necronomicon, and by attacking enemies with your nail, you can soul suck them, adding it to your own. And with enough soul, you can heal yourself. By exploring the map and searching far and wide, you'll find yourself some good old combat upgrades. You got special ones too, like Great Slash, Dash Slash, and Spin to Win. Don't spam these moves though, you have to hold the attack button to use, and if you get hit while charging it, you lose it. But don't worry, there's more. You're a wizard. You have spells like Dragon Ball ZS Energy Blast, Danny Phantom's Ghostly Wail, and what game would this be without a good old fashioned ground pound? Naturally, these spells cost soul to use as well. Also, you can further upgrade these spells to do even more damage. Even when you have all these toys to play with, there's still charms. Charms are the spice of the gameplay, a little extra nudge to make it more fun. Charms are the essential perks you've gotten used to in every game nowadays. They also cost space or notches to use, with some costing more than others, and these things come in many flavors. They typically range from simple buffs or some unique effects, like a compass, which is shouldn't even cost charm to be honest, giving your nail more range and making your spells do more damage or cost less soul to use. Unique ones is straight up making you smell so fucking bad it causes actual damage to enemies in close proximity, turning Shade Soul into a shotgun with maggots, spawning minions and shields, etc. But like Goku, you can go even further beyond and mix and match them as well, like how equipping Defender's Crest and Fluke Nest turns the Shade Soul into a fucking stink bomb, or Weaver Song or Grub Song, making the spiders generate soul and making them do all your dirty work. Tying into the theme of the combat, the boss battles are also a blast. Some of my favorites is the Soul Master, who's the wizardest wizard that ever wizard. By the time you face him, you're already facing his advertisers. Appetizers are what I tried to say. Like the Soul Twister and Soul Warrior. Now you deal with the main course, Big Daddy Wizard Man. He's got aimbotting fireballs and more teleport spam than Nightcrawler from the X-Men. And his ground pounds are so powerful you can feel it in your bones. And then in the second phase, he does a fake death, which surprises me. You can also tell he's getting really desperate because the ground pound spam gets even more so. But when he's defeated, you get the Desolate Dive as a nice reward. But then there's the Mantis Lords, who are a gang boss done right. The Mantises are warriors, so you actually challenge them to a duel, which is really cool. The first phase is like a 1v1 test. Most of her moveset is simply like a straightforward dash attack and aerial downward thrust. Then she throws this, for a lack of a better word, boomerang thingamajig at you. It's pretty trippy in your first playthrough. But when she's beaten, two of them stand up and proceed to gangbang. Because it's two of them now, the fight's more fast-paced, and their attacks aren't even mindless. It's pretty coordinated and synchronized, like if one attacks from the front, one attacks from above. But eventually you'll win when you get the respect the entire village gives you, and they become non-hostile towards you. Now we talk about the map of this game. The areas in this game are straight up eye candy to look at. They're so clear, distinct, and easily identifiable. I can actually take a snapshot of each area of the map and you know where it came from. I think it's because how color is used in these places, like how green is unironically associated with Green Path, stuff like that. But anywho, I'm going to give a basic bare bones synopsis of each area now. First off, Dirtmouth. It's basically the hub area where you go to buy stuff and where NPCs you meet in the world go once you found them. The Forgotten Crossroads is the starting area with a bunch of low-level scrums that also serves as a nexus point to other areas. Green Path is, well, green. Very original name, I know, but it's a very foresty area with xenomorph acid everywhere. Assholes who like to ambush you, pointy mosquitoes, dudes who like to spray orange Fanta soda at you. The Fog Canyon is pretty vertical in its design. It's got bubbles for 5-year-olds, jellyfish that just exist, and jellyfish that double as naval mines apparently, and the occasional lightning bugs to navigate through. The fungal waste is all about mushrooms that want to kill you, like the floating guys who spray hot Cheeto dust so bad it actually hurts. There is also these purple balls you can bounce on that adds interesting platforming. Go deep enough and you'll find a mantis village that's filled with hostile mantises that clearly don't want you to be there. But as the player, who gives a fuck about their personal boundaries anyway? Eventually you'll find the Mantis Lord's boss fight, who will run your pockets. Well, on your first playthrough, anyway. Now, mine and everyone's favorite area, the City of Tears. It's rainy. Very rainy to the point where it's kind of a mood. Just like the architecture of this place, it's very unique, cool, and spindly looking. It can't help but remind me of Gothic architecture for some reason. I guess it adds to the insectoid aesthetic of this game. Apparently the left side is for broke losers and the right side is for rich assholes. Speaking of rich assholes, the Soul Sanctum is filled with dudes that were kidnapping people and fucking soul sucking them dry. Shit man, on my second playthrough I managed to find Ariana Grande singing the City of Tears theme in the Pleasure House. Now we go from the place everybody loves to Deep Nest. Deep Nest fucking hates you. It doesn't want you there. You have random assholes coming out of the ground to attack you, more pitfall traps that make the Vietnamese blush, spiders that randomly come out of the air, Spiders on the ceiling. Big ass tanky spiders that block choke points and have the nerve to do double damage. An asshole of a boss that lures you into a false sense of security. Assholes to spawn more assholes. Creepy crawlies inside of corpses. Trying to traverse the area? Well, fuck you, now you have to find your way out of a labyrinth. And let's not forget about the fact that this area doesn't have a soundtrack, which just adds to the creep factor. They're calling cliffs. Let's be real, who actually likes this area? It's pretty empty with standard enemies you've seen a million times. You only come here for Cyclone Slash, a DLC that I didn't play through, and a charm. The Crystal Peaks, on the other hand, is very platform focused. There are conveyor belts to either slow you down or speed you up. Smaller platforms that switch up on you like spikes. There's also these hydraulic press things that flatten you like a pancake that require you to have some insane reflexes to pass through. And there are these laser beams that you have to move through with timing as well. Those flying enemies that shoot spikes on the ground that limit your movements are also a pain in the ass. The ancient basin is also kind of meh in my opinion. There are some points of interest like the double jumping monarch wings and a cool boss fight with the broken vessel. But there really isn't much to say about this area. The Royal Waterways is the gross sewers right under the City of Tears. There are these weird worm things that have a gimmick that's like a corpse creeper. You kill them and they come back, but this time it's two of them. There are these little flying dudes that chase you around like you owe them money. The more you go, though, the grosser it gets. There's this giant worm mother boss thing that's frustrating on my first playthrough, but easy on my second because it's small health pool. You also get a charm that apparently used to be pretty OP as fuck. You also get Isma's Tear, which makes you immune to acid. And of course, my favorite boss. Well, one of them. The Dung Defender. Yeah, you heard that right. He's a boss that literally and metaphorically shits on you. And you're gonna love it. Kingdom's Edge is another vertically designed area in a desperate need of lotion because of how ashy it is. There's lots of stuff to do here, like Hornet's second boss fight, but this time she has very spiky wires that limit your movements as well. There's Oro to find who gives you the dash slash, but of course I can't talk about this area without mentioning the godforsaken primal aspects. These assholes, nay douchebags, pardon my language, go out of their way to ruin your day. Just traversing the area, well, now you have at least two of them chasing you down like you killed their mother, which you probably did, but fuck these guys anyway. I swear their cone-shaped range trajectory attacks feel like they're predicting your movements with the fucking Sharingan. But anywho, you go all the way to the top, you'll find the Coliseum of Fools. This area kind of functions like a different game mode. Aesthetically, it's a gladiatorial deathmatch. Gameplay-wise, it's like a horde mode where each stage you go out, the harder it gets. I'm specifically struggling with this, the floor is lava part as well. It's also an easy way to grind Geo if you're really broke. You can even find Tiso, who's an arrogant NPC warrior dude who's looking for a challenge, but when he gets what he wants, he gets killed and thrown to the bottom like a loser. Now we speak of the Queen's Garden. It's like a variation of Green Path, but this is very thorny and spiky. As a result, there's a lot of stuff to jump to. It has these platforms that switch up on you when you land on them. Enemy-wise, there are these porcupine-looking dudes who shoot spikes in every direction. And following the theme of annoying flying enemy, there are these pests that shoot these projectiles that act like boomerangs. But eventually, you'll find your mom who gives you the King's Soul. And of course, the White Palace is next. Now, the only reason you come here is because of the other half of the King's Soul. In order to get to this place, though, you need about 2,000 Dream Essence by doing these tree things. Dream Bosses and Dream Warriors. And a special shout out to Markov, because I despise that creature with a passion. Then you dream nail the king's mold in the ancient basin. Then you get the absolute soul-crushing platforming hellscape we've all come to expect. Let me ask you a question. Do you like obstacle courses and unnecessary amounts of buzzsaws and spikes? If the answer is yes, then congratulations, I finally made you acknowledge the fact that you are indeed a masochist. I had to use a bunch of health-based charms to survive this godforsaken place. And no, I don't like cock and ball torture, so I did it through fucking Path of Pain. Eventually, you'll find Daryl dead, where you'll desecrate and grave wrap his corpse for the king's soul. Finally, the hive, on the other hand, is unfortunately half-baked and incomplete. You can actually finish this area in like 20 to 30 minutes. And as per usual, there are annoying ass enemies like the Hive Soldier who watch way too much Gurren Lagann on their free time, and has become the literal drill to pierce the heavens. Now the bouncing bastard, that is the Hive Guardian, ping-pongs around the place like it's 8-ball pool, making it hard to predict his trajectory, which breaks some platforms for you, and of course he does double damage to rub salt in your wound. Now the lore is quite fascinating. Despite the cutesy art style, the story is pretty dark and depressing. It all starts with the Pale King, who was a literal god. He came to Hollowness as a big-ass worm thing, then reincarnated into a smaller version of himself. After that, he began to pull bugs into his thrall, and told them to build a kingdom. But of course, there's other people here already, like the Mosskin, who are just vegan plant people. The Spider Tribe shared out silk and made cool things with it. The Mushroom Clan had a shared hive mind like the Tyranids from 40K. The Bees told everyone to fuck off, hence their isolation. The Mantis Tribe were the typical honorable warrior dudes. The Moss were the chill pacifists who worshipped the Radiants until they decided not to. Basically, flipping her off, told her that she's cringe and the Pale King is the new sensation sweeping the nation. And just like that, the Moss started glazing the Pale King. Losing the popularity contest, the Radiance, being the absolute sore loser that she is, decided to create and release the infection. A virus so bad it makes the bubonic plague straight out of medieval Europe look like the fucking common cold. The infection basically turns people into mindless zombies, stripping off their will, who then would just attack people that weren't infected. It even managed to spread throughout Hollowness. Special exception being the Mantis tribe because they got that warrior mentality, meaning they have shonen protagonist levels of willpower. But the traitor Mantis Lords exist. Just like Anakin, he embraced the dark side and willingly accepted the infection like a dumbass for its power, making him an exception within an exception. And like I mentioned before, civilians were being captured and had their soul juice siphoned away by the dudes in the Soul Sanctum, but they failed miserably and still got infected. Now all of this mayhem and chaos was making the Pale King absolutely shit bricks, so he decided to come up with a galaxy brain plan. First, he started digging around with the Void, which is a dark shadowy substance that vaguely reminds you of the symbiote from Marvel. He took the Void and started making super soldiers called King's Mold. He then realized that the infection needs a host with a will of their own to control them. The Pale King had an idea about making an empty being with no will to contain the infection. So he decided making babies with the White Lady, his queen, tossed the eggs into the abyss, where the void seeped inside, erasing their will, personality, and even their gender. Ah yes, the ends justify the means, it never gets old. And just like that, the vessels were created like the player character. But because the Pale King is the world's best dad, he only chose the one who climbed to the top of the abyss first. The first 1,000 or so were deemed failures, including you, and fell back down to the abyss. He basically locked their asses in the basement, After an off-screen training montage and getting juiced up from the roid usage and a little bit of father-son bonding, the Hollow Knight developed feelings and a little bit of a personality. So the details are pretty murky, but the Hollow Knight somehow vaguely sealed the radiance in itself. But the Pale King thought there needed to be extra seals to protect the Hollow Knight's body. This is when the three dreamers came into play as well. Lurin the Watcher was a creepy dude who watched people from the telescope. He was also loyal to the Pale King, so it was pretty easy to convince him. One among the teacher was a bookworm nerd who could be found in the teacher's archive, which was a library in the Fog Canyon. Her the Beast was the Queen of Deepness, and she wanted something in exchange, actually. A child, so they boned, resulting in the birth of the fan favorite character Hornet. And after a whole lot of persuading, the Pale King vaguely put them in a permanent sleep and sealed them away. I think they were sealed by the Weavers. After the plan was complete, the Pale King went to the White Palace and died on his throne somehow. Unfortunately, the Hollow Knight couldn't keep the Radiant sealed forever. It wasn't truly hollow enough because ironically it desperately wanted to be the Hollow Knight, which of course suggests it has a conscience, and as we all know, the infection infects those with minds of their own. Cracks started to form literally and metaphorically, and the infection started leaking out again. Somehow, some vessels managed to escape the abyss, including the Knight, aka the player character. The Knight then took a whole ass vacation outside of Hollowness for some reason, and came back presumably because of the infection leaking out of the Hollow Knight. After digging around for a bit, you'll meet Hornet in Green Path. She knows you'll just break the seal, so she'll try to kill you. After fending her off, she fucks off. Some more digging around later with upgrades under your belt and basically killing 3 people in their sleep. Hornet challenges the Knight a final time in Kingdom's Edge to test if it's strong enough to handle the truth. The truth being, you're a lab rat, a guinea pig, and a test tube baby. At this point in the story, you can face the Hollow Knight itself, and depending on your actions, you get a different ending. After defeating the Hollow Knight, the player can drink all of the orange soda and become the new Hollow Knight by absorbing the infection. But if you have the Void Heart, Hornet will interrupt the fight and incapacitate the Hollow Knight. If you Dream Nail it, you'll get the true final boss of the game, the one and only Radiance. And not gonna lie, this boss is a pretty ass-clenching experience. But eventually you'll win, and with her defeat, you'll transform into Venom and bitch slap her until she's dragged into the darkest pits of hell. But if you don't use the Dream Nail, Hornet will get knocked out. Then you'll be sealed in the Black Egg along with Hornet for all eternity. There are some other endings, but I haven't played the DLC yet, so I'll keep that on hold for now. This game is really just another example of an indie game getting more clout than AAA's. Team Cherries really outdid themselves with this game. But in conclusion, dear viewer, I beg of you, stop it, get some help, wake up to reality, and get off the copium. Cause Silk Song isn't real. Peace.